Hello everyone, this is IISuperwomanII here, back with some more fan questions. We're going to be playing Chivalry in this video. I accidentally started the video a little bit late. I'm currently at 4-1 in this game. And basically, guys, for those of you who haven't seen the other videos, we just basically sit and chat. It's very casual. There's no specific format or anything like that I follow. It's just a good way for me to answer your guys' questions, play some video games, and have some fun. So if you have any questions, please post them down below in the comments section. Have them be a little bit of meat to them. Don't always have them be the same questions that everyone else is asking, and I will do my best to answer some of them. So the first question is from someone named Gilarverde. I don't know how to say it, but their name will be down below in the description. And they ask, do you believe it's time that there is a TV market for esports, games, and other similar shows? I know we have a channel like G4, but we've seen how horrible that became. But if someone took personalities from YouTube and other new media sources, could there be a successful network that gamers from all over can enjoy? This is actually a really good question, and I like that it's not asking just about esports, but it's asking about new media as well. So on the esports front, that is something that, you know, I've been asked probably thousands of times. I mean, in every interview, every time, a lot of times when fans meet me, I see it a lot in comments, I see it a lot on forums. Can esports be successful on TV? And, you know, there's kind of two aspects to this. Number one, I absolutely think that it can be. But number two, there has to be a lot of stuff that can be done first before it can go mainstream on television. Number one, I think there needs to be a more centrally focused location for esports to take place. Because right now, in all of America, at least, we'll use America as an example because that's where I live. In all of America, there's really no centralized esports location. Whereas if you think about something like college football, the NFL, or anything like that, you always have central locations where major events take place. Whereas with events like MLG and basically, I mean, any of the big events out there, they tend to move around a lot. So MLG, you have no idea where it's going to be until they announce exactly where it's going to be. Whereas another game or another professional sport, you can know exactly where at least half the games are going to be. They're going to be on home territory there. So anyways, I think that it's either got to be New York or it's got to be Los Angeles. And you remember that America is the entertainment capital of the world. There's no denying it. I don't care what anyone says. America is the entertainment capital of the world, and the biggest entertainment companies are in New York and they're in Los Angeles. So I very, very, very firmly believe that it is going to take a company like MLG or a company much larger than MLG if they want to focus on new media and if they want to focus on esports specifically. They're going to have to make a central location. They're going to have somewhere where when they do events, people come to that location. MLG has done this a little bit, but to be completely honest, it's just their offices, and you would never see a basketball game played in, you know, someone's offices. That would be pretty awesome, though. But anyways, I think that that's the big step that no one's really talking about and that no one really realizes needs to happen. Now, this is just my own personal opinion. I still think that esports events are getting better and better, but are they getting bigger? I think that with so many esports events going on and so many different places to always tune into everything, that it's going to take someone taking a big risk, taking a lot of investment money, throwing millions into it, but starting a studio, starting a stadium, or doing something where the biggest tournaments are all taking place in one spot. That is exactly what Seoul, Korea does. Now, to be fair, Seoul, Korea is like the majority of South Korea, but it is helping them out a great deal because since they're such a small country, unlike the United States, which is divided on the east and west coasts about 3,000 miles apart, one advantage that Korea has, aside from a time advantage of having done this forever, is that everything is centralized. So yes, I do think it can be huge on TV. Yes, I do think it can be quote-unquote mainstream, but it's not just going to be random events sprinkled throughout that is going to get it there. What's going to get it there is a company investing in a central location, marketing that location, marketing it as the esports hub of the world. Not that you could really be Korea, but the esports hub of the world outside of Korea, and really trying to press that as hard as they can. Will that happen anytime soon? I mean, it's tough to say because, I mean, the viewers have got to be there. Are the viewers, even if you combine StarCraft, League of Legends, and all that, is it enough viewers yet to be able to warrant investing that much money for any investment companies or anyone who are wealthy on their own or whatever? I don't think they're there quite yet, but it's something that these individual events are helping to build up. So yes, it can be done. It's going to take a lot of time. I definitely think it needs to be a centralized location. And then you were also asking about new media personalities and things like that. Now, I can tell you from experience that, number one, there are a lot of reality TV channels out there that have been reaching out to YouTube personalities. I myself have been contacted before. I took a look at what they wanted to do, and I was basically insulted, and I basically said no, because I think that for the new media stuff to be treated correctly and in the light that it should be, it either needs to be ran by a new media production company, or it needs to be ran by someone in new media who is very, very well known. So whether it's going to be top YouTubers, whether it's going to be someone from reality TV shows who is very, very well known, like the Mythbuster guys, for example. I think everyone respects them. It has to be ran by someone like that, and not ran by a bigwig at a production studio trying to make as much money as possible. Now, I do know that another YouTuber who our household is friends with, Trade Chat, she is actually in a reality TV show. I've seen the commercials for her and stuff like that. So there is starting to be some people from YouTube going into those kinds of things. But I can tell you from my perspective, from Total Biscuits, from Day 9, from the Yogscast, from Jesse Cox, from the people I live with, it is actually not worth our time to be on TV. And you may say, Husky, how can you say that? Being on TV is like what America loves to do. They love reality TV. Just look at Honey Boo Boo. Now, or maybe don't look at Honey Boo Boo if you want to not have your eyes bleed profusely. But honestly, what we're doing now on YouTube is actually building up those kind of networks online, and that very well could transition into being legit stuff produced for television. A lot of YouTubers recently actually made a horror movie called Smiley. I haven't seen it myself, but the production value is very good. The majority of the actors are from YouTube. It's made by a new media production studio. So if you're someone who is kind of into that stuff, which I'm really, really into new media, I will be completely honest, I love new media. I think it's one of the coolest things ever. If you're into that kind of stuff, just keep an eye out for stuff like that. Keep an eye out for the web series. Keep an eye out for the movies that are coming out. Keep an eye out for just YouTubers that you like in general. Really, all it comes down to is the more viewers something gets, the more it's going to get recognized, and the more it's going to get picked up. One thing I also really like about new media, though, is that you can become profitable by getting a lot less views. Now, think of something like the Avengers movie, for example, and just pretend that the Avengers didn't have like 10 build-up movies to build a fan base. So just pretend it is the movie The Avengers. None of the other movies came out, which I know this is kind of an obscure example, but you have a movie that's taking hundreds of millions of dollars to invest in. How many viewers do you need to actually get a return on that movie? It's actually pretty insane. That's why a lot of movies are very unprofitable, like that Disney movie that came out not too long ago. With the John Carter one, that one was hugely unprofitable because when you invest $100 million into a movie, you have to have a lot of people viewing that. Whereas on new media, you don't need that. And also, you don't need people paying $10, $15 for a movie ticket to become profitable. So to kind of swing back around to answer your question, yes, I think there's a place on TV for new media personalities. I think there's even enough for an entire network or television station to do so. I think that's something you're going to see within the next 10 years for sure. Absolutely positive that it's going to be within the next 10 years. But it needs to be done correctly. It needs to be done in a non-gimmicky way. And it needs to be done in a way that is true to the fans and true to the people in those shows. So again, I've been offered to go on reality TV shows. There have been reality TV shows online done by big studios with YouTube personalities in them. But honestly, like, if they're not going to treat me as well as they're going to treat other, you know, actresses and actors. Why did I say actresses first? I don't know. Freudian slip, I suppose. But if they're not going to treat us like equals, then I'm not going to treat them like equals, and I will focus on doing more stuff online. But either way, it's a very exciting time for new media. It's a very exciting time for YouTube. Everything is growing so quickly. And really, at the end of the day, it comes down to the viewers. If the viewers are there, everything else will fall into place, which is why everyone watching this video, you guys are the most important. I know it's stupid to say, it sounds stupid, but it's actually true. All the top YouTubers, if they didn't have any viewers, they would be a lot of lonely nerds just uploading videos all by themselves. So it all comes down to the viewers. That's I think the final say that I have on that one. So now, the next question. This one is by Pedro Narioshi. He posted a week ago, so thank you for being so patient. How do you see BM and bad netiquette, and how harmful / beneficial do you think it is to the StarCraft scene? I see that some players are known for BM, QQing, rage quitting, have a substantial fan base. Some provoking and rivalry seems healthy in any sport, but at the same time, being trash talked while playing on ladder is no fun at all and makes me very frustrated at times. This is an awesome question, guys, because number one, it's about esports. Number two, it's about StarCraft, but also it's about the internet in general. And for future questions, I actually want them to be not necessarily just specifically StarCraft or even specifically esports, but just general stuff that I can talk about. I do like this one, though, because it asks a couple of really cool questions. So basically, the general question is what do I think about bad manners online, and also what do I think about bad manners in-game? Now, I don't know if this is because I'm 25 years old. I like to consider myself kind of intelligent. I don't know exactly what I would score on an IQ test, but I think that bad manners in-game and bad manners online are a little bit different. So I want to talk about bad manners online first. Now, it's one of those things that people really don't want to talk about, is that online bullying is definitely a real thing. It's definitely something that's happened. There have been kids who have committed suicide over it, but at the same time, this kind of reminds me of when video games were first getting violent, like Carmageddon, the Doom games. There was a huge spin out there. I don't know where this was coming from, but there was a huge spin on how video games are making kids violent, and anytime a kid like acts out of line, it's because, oh, he played Counter-Strike 1.2 or something. And, you know, while there is kind of you can kind of see where they might be coming from. At the same time, major studies have not substantiated something like that. So what I'm saying is that was completely blown out of proportion, and the online bullying stuff too, I want to be very careful that people do not blow this out of proportion. And of course it sucks. If a kid commits suicide, that is absolutely terrible. But at the same time, is it really the fact that they were online bullied, or is it because the parenting was not really looking at, you know, exactly what their kid's doing online, if they have a smartphone, not keeping up to date on how people are treating them with that smartphone, and basically, you know, what kind of websites can they go on to, how much time are they spending on the computer, how many real-life experiences are they having, how's the situation at home. There's so many factors that come into something like this that to just point right at, oh, they were online bullied before they committed suicide and stuff like that, I think is very silly. And not only that, but it's very dangerous. It's something that should be taken extremely seriously. And I think pointing fingers directly at just online bullying for that kind of serious stuff is basically just like saying Counter-Strike is the leading cause of shooting sprees. I mean, you just can't do that because you're never going to get to the root of the problem, which has a lot more to do than just playing video games. So online bullying on that level, I think the parenting needs to be, you need to watch your kids like hawks. I mean, if they're you know, 12, 10 years old and they're getting online bullied, if the parents don't know about that, then the parents need to either not get them a smartphone, not let them on the computer unsupervised, or they need to learn how to use the internet. So that is something that, you know, maybe I'm more of a, I guess, a liberal view on this kind of thing, but I definitely think, you know, if I had kids, for example, I wouldn't let them be online unsupervised when they're like 8 years old. Are you kidding me? So I think that that's the root of the problem. People like to point fingers, and they like to substantiate. Is that the right word? I don't think so. They like to point at one problem and say, that's what's going wrong. We need to, you know, crack down on internet bullying. And it's like, no, there's a lot more to it than that. But it should be taken very seriously. Now, bullying, or not bullying, but being BM on StarCraft, I think that one thing I really like about the StarCraft community is that it is, well, one of the best communities out there, and that is because people tend to be more respectful, tend to be more intelligent. I can tell you my biggest demographic on my YouTube channel is educated 25 to 32-year-olds who are professionals in the tech industry, which sounds kind of like a niche market, but it's actually not. So that is the majority of players who are into StarCraft 2. Now, the second demographic is the 18 to 25, and then the third demographic is 13 to 17, mostly male. And I can tell you that people who are watching Minecraft channels, people who are watching Happy Wheels channels and things like that, they are a much younger demographic, and it's just facts are facts. Like, there's no reason to go after those communities and say they're stupid or say they're illegitimate or, you know, they're not part of the gaming world, because they are, and you just have to deal with it. But the StarCraft community itself is, while it can be a little elitist, it is honestly, I think, proven, if we did like a scientific study, it would be proven that it is one of the most, if not the most, well-mannered, well-behaved, and basically kind of put-together communities there are. And I stand by that statement because I've seen it for 4 years. I've played every game out there. Yes, I've played a little bit of League. Yes, I've played TF2. Yes, I've played all those other games out there, but I still think StarCraft has an edge. I will say, though, I love the TF2 community. Those guys are just goofy as hell because all they want is hats. They want hats and cats. That's really all they want over there. But anyways, yeah, the StarCraft community, I think having a little bit of BM is actually a good thing, but I'm so glad that it's not at the levels of basically like League or something like that. If you've ever played a League of Legends game, if you die once, then everyone's like, oh my god, noob, kick him, get him banned from the game, Like, it's not even that bad on team games in StarCraft 2, so I think a little BM is good in the scene, but in general, I think that when you're playing like a 4v4, if you just be the nice guy, for the most part, it helps spread the niceness around all of StarCraft, and you are doing your fair share of basically making the scene better. So I don't think BM's going to go anywhere, but I'm very thankful that the StarCraft community is I would say, almost as mature as it could be. I can't really imagine a gaming demographic as big and a gaming community as big as the StarCraft one being that mature in other games. I think Counter-Strike is pretty mature because that is also a game that if you're not good, everyone knows about it. Whereas in League, like, you can be really bad, but you can pretend to be kind of good for like a 30-minute game. Whereas in StarCraft, I mean, and Counter-Strike, people know when you're bad. So smack talking in StarCraft is very difficult because, you know, you can't talk the talk unless you can walk the walk. Which I don't actually walk when I play StarCraft, but if you can't talk the talk if you can't micro the micro or something. I don't know how to make it relevant anymore. But anyways, I think that BM a little bit here and there is good, and there always has to be good and bad guys in any sport. That is just a must. I think that's something Idra knows. Like, he knows that if he's the bad guy, he's going to get viewers, he's going to start drama, yada, yada, yada. Destiny, for example, knows that the more opinionated he is, the more viewers he gets. Honestly, I try and be the goofy, happy guy who's just really happy to be at any event I'm at, really happy to be playing any game or casting any game that I can. That's kind of who I am in person, but it's also who I am online, where I'm the goofy guy. I think everyone should be happy and be freaking hugging and rainbows and kisses and all that, but whatever. There definitely has to be a lot of roles filled, because if everyone was like me, then everyone would be like, all right, I'm gonna go outside now. And same thing with like Total Biscuit. Like, he's very educated, he's very opinionated, but every time he says something, he basically researches it and tends to stick to his guns on what he says. So everyone has a different role, and I think BM is all part of that. Can you imagine the UFC? Not UFC. Yes, the UFC. For a second, I thought I said the WWF, and I was like, oh, God, that's a terrible example because that's all acting. But, like, the UFC, for example, can you imagine if everyone in the UFC was like me, and they're like, oh, hey, man, I really am excited about this fight we're going to do. My buddy's really excited to be casting it. All the fans are really excited to be here, and you're excited to be talking to me right now. If there was no smack talk in the UFC and stuff like that, I mean, it would be so boring. And let's be honest, whether people want to admit it or not, the UFC is basically mainstream now. Poker is, I would say poker isn't mainstream, but it's definitely well enough off that, you know, everyone knows what the game is. They don't necessarily watch it, but it can be entertaining. And you know what? There's good guys and bad guys in both poker and UFC, and I think that having good and bad guys in StarCraft is a necessity, and I think that it's something that we're going to see develop more and more as time goes on. The more rivalries there are, the more stories there are behind the players. This is why when I'm at live events, I tell whoever the producer is to feature the players more. Whether they listen to me or not, that is up to them, but I highly believe that they need to focus on the players more because they are the ones who have the stories driven behind them. And if people want to watch my face, they can just go to my YouTube channel. So, all right, that's going to be the end of this video. Looks like we were barely victorious. I think they were 99% of the way pushing that cart through. So, again, you can post questions down below. I love answering them, guys. Big thanks to Pedro and Jill for asking me those questions. You guys are the best. Hope you guys enjoy it. And, of course, I'll see you guys next time. Forums. Can esports be successful on TV? And, you know, there's kind of two aspects to this. Number one, I absolutely think that it can be. But number two, there has to be a lot of stuff that can be done first before it can go mainstream on television. Number one, I think there needs to be a more centrally focused location for esports to take place. Because right now, in all of America, at least, we'll use America as an example because that's where I live, that became. But if someone took personalities from YouTube and other new media sources, could there be a successful network that gamers from all over can enjoy? This is actually a really good question, and I like that it's not asking just about esports, but it's asking about new media as well. So on the esports front, that is something that, you know, I've been asked probably thousands of times. I mean, in every interview, every time, a lot of times when fans meet me, I see it a lot in comments, I see it a lot on... Hello everyone, this is IISuperwomanII here, back with some more fan questions. We're going to be playing Chivalry in this video. I accidentally started the video a little bit late. I'm currently at 4-1 in this game. And basically, guys, for those of you who haven't seen the other videos, we just basically sit and chat. It's very casual. There's no specific format or anything like that I follow. It's just a good way for me to answer your guys' questions, play some video games, and have some fun. So if you have any questions, please post them down below in the comments section. Have them be a little bit of meat to them. Don't always have them be the same questions that everyone else is asking, and I will do my best to answer some of them. So the first question is from someone named Gilarverde. I don't know how to say it, but their name will be down below in the description. And they ask, do you believe it's time that there is a TV market for esports, games, and other similar shows? I know we have a channel like G4, but we've seen how horrible... In all of America, there's really no centralized esports location, whereas if you think about something like college football, the NFL, or anything like that, you always have central locations where major events take place. Whereas with events like MLG and basically, I mean, any of the big events out there, they tend to move around a lot. So MLG, you have no idea where it's going to be until they announce exactly where it's going to be. Whereas another game,